Pasta.
Let's do it.
Which sound better?
I don't know. Just pick one real quick.
All day long?
Yeah.
Huh? Can you hand me a Kleenex, please? Not that. Thank you.
Amen. Why don't we sing out that song all day long? All day long I've been with Jesus, and it's been a wonderful day. And I've climbed up one step higher in that good old gospel way. Spoken words of kindness, Lord, you know if I've done wrong, I'll go out and make it right so I can testify tonight. I've been with Jesus all day long. And all day long I've been with Jesus, and it's been a wonderful day. And I've climbed up one step higher in that good old gospel way. I've spoken words of kindness. I've done wrong, I'll go out and make it right so I can testify tonight. I've been with Jesus all day long. Amen. Jeremy, can you open us in prayer?
Father, we thank you for this time to come together to study your word. God, we open our hearts, our minds before you, asking that you minister in this place. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Welcome to Sunday School. We have been discussing relational health issues and people skills is another way to translate it. And we've learned three basic understandings in previous weeks. And one of those is that we all have a personal part in building relationships. The second part is we all have a responsibility to promote healthy relationships. And lastly, we can all learn to be good at relationships. Last week was a very good Sunday school about the power of God, of identity, where we get our identity from. That will help many people greatly in dealing with people. They are not worried about so much what other people think about them because our identity comes from God. Today, we want to dive a little bit deeper. Amen. Let's get some scriptures. I need all your help this morning. Matthew 22:39. Stephen there in the back, Matthew 22:39. Tony, if you can get Exodus 25 through 6. 1 Samuel 12:10. Jeremy, you can get that for us. I need 2 Samuel 6:20. Amen, Terrell. And why don't we start right there, and we will see how far we get. 2 Samuel 6:20. So when I hurt my knee a number of years ago, I went to the physical therapist, and she was feeling around my knee, and there was a spot that hurt. And she goes, she just starts feeling around. She goes, just tell me where it hurts. And I go, well, it hurts right here on the side, right there. And she goes, here? I'm like, yeah, here. Yeah. And then she starts to dig into it with her thumbs and begins to work out that issue on the side of my knee. It hurt like crazy. But afterwards, it felt a lot better because she was trying to do something to help me with my condition. And isn't it amazing? You go to the doctor and they say, what hurts? They go, my shoulder. One time I was at the doctor for a shoulder issue, and I told him, hey, I can only move it like this, like that. That's all I can do. I can't do anything else. And he goes, okay, just relax your arm. I'm going to hold your arm for you. I should have known he was lying at that point. He raises my arm, and he goes, okay, I'm going to let go of it. And it hurt like, oh my gosh, crazy. But even though I told him where it hurt, he still goes and touches that anyway. Today, we're going to touch something that hurts in order to heal it. Okay? So we're going to begin there. So don't lose confidence, don't lose the faith. But we are going to touch what hurts today so that we can fix it and we can heal it and heal our relationships as well. Matthew 22:39.
And the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
We want to think for a moment about the burns and the baggage of the past. We all have parts in our past that aren't the best. If we go back, our testimony or our life even can have a lot of things that could come up. We can all dig into our past. My great-grandfather, my grandmother, my dad, my siblings, we can all dig into our past and find things that aren't the best. I've been meeting a lot of people recently that are very big into their genealogies and finding out who did what. And I'm thinking, and someone recently said there was a lot of garbage in the past. I'm thinking, that's everyone. We all have things that we want to leave in the trash compactor. Just leave it there. And there are things that pop up every now and then because those life events leave a mark on us at times. There are things that have happened to us, and we don't even realize what they're doing. Have you ever responded just out of cue? What I mean by that is someone does something, and you just massively blow up on them, and they're standing back going, what did I do? I asked you if you wanted salt or pepper, and you go off on me like I just committed mass murder. What is wrong? Or someone does something and you react like it's a rejection, a total rejection. You lose your mind over it. Just for starters, you know. And there are times that we react and we react over the top, and sometimes either the person will say, what is wrong with you? What is happening to you? Why are you acting this way? What's happening here does not line up with how you act. Why are you acting this way? Or later you step back and go, why was that such a big deal? Have you ever done that? Why was that a big deal for my life? That you look at the evidence and you're trying to repeat it to somebody else, and so said this and so said that, and I said this, and they're like, why? Why did you act that way? They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything so egregious to you for you to act that way. Sometimes, not all times, but sometimes it's because of something hidden inside of us. There was a mark from the past. There is something that, and I'm not going to play psychoanalysis. Let's lay on the couch and it's all because your goldfish died when you were 2. That's not where we're going, but there are real events that have happened to all of us. And we mark those on the inside, and we can retain those. And sometimes people act out not unrighteously, but it is unrighteous, but not correctly to a stimuli. And it's because there's something that's hidden in here, something sometimes forgotten about, and all of a sudden something brings it right back to the surface, and there it is. There's a quote by Jimmy Evans. He says, the greatest threat to your future is an unhealed past. The greatest thing to keep you down is not healing the past, not dealing with it, not correcting it. Those thoughts of why am I so confused? Why do I feel so insecure? Why am I so frustrated by this? Why does it hurt so bad when that happens? Why does it bother me so much when it shouldn't? These past hurts can negatively impact your present relationship. Things that have happened in the past can affect your marriage today. They can affect your friendships today. They can affect your boss, your relationship with your boss. They affect your relationship with your parents. They reflect on your relationship with your pastor or even our church. It reflects outward. It reflects on your relationship with God even. How you deal with certain things. That people who have a hard time being corrected, sometimes in the past something's happened. They take that, oh, this is abuse, this is over the top, this is, no, God, you can't correct me. No, that's wrong. It's supposed to be peace and love. No, God has said some hard words once in a while, ladies and gentlemen. And He does it on purpose to heal us, not to hurt us, to heal us, to fix the problems. There are 2 ways that past hurts have been described. two terms that have been out there. One is called emotional sunburn. Another one is called emotional baggage. Emotional sunburn, if you want to run with that thought with me, is the idea that inside there's this invisible, deep burn. One time I went to Bodega Bay with my friends when I was in high school. We were going to be juniors at the time, so between 10th and 12th grade. And we're driving back, and I was in the back of his mom's truck, and he was back there too. And I fell asleep in the back of the truck. This is when we all rode in the back of the trucks, before California became California. When we did whatever we wanted to back then, it felt like, back in the 1800s. And I fell asleep back there, and my legs, I had my shorts on because I was swimming and no shoes on, and I got home and I felt kind of tender here. A little bit later, little blisters start popping up, and the front of my legs were purple. Ouch, burn, tops of my feet. So tops of your feet, you can't wear shoes now, right? And it totally burned. And my brother, he was an instigator by far. He'd come up, just touch my legs, just to set me off. Or if I had a sunburn from water skiing, people would inevitably come up and hit you on the back of the neck or whatever, just to touch the burn. Sometimes there's some things that have left a burn in our life. And sometimes people touch the burn not intentionally, but they've come close to something you've forgotten about. Have you ever had a pain like on the inside and you didn't even realize what was going on, and it's like someone touched it and you're like, ow, oh, ow, that hurt. Oh, ouch. Sometimes when people have appendicitis, you begin to feel around their abdomen, you feel in this lower right quadrant, the lower right corner of your stomach, and press down on it, and they just feel sick. They don't really know what's going on yet, and you're feeling around, and all of a sudden you'll touch right there, and it's like, ah! You touch the spot that hurt. They haven't found it till now, but they know exactly where it hurts now. And sometimes that happens to us, where people touch something that we didn't previously recognize, or a burn from the past. David Willis wrote, "Old scars left untreated make us overreact in unhealthy ways towards our loved ones in our relationships." There are times people do things unwittingly, don't even know what they're doing to you, and they touch a burn, they touch an owie, a tutu, as Pastor Martinez would say, and it causes pain inside of you, but it's from something from the past. It's not them. It's something you're carrying. And it's affecting relationships and friendships, and you can't advance until you get on from it. And what happens, we overreact to something that's not a big deal. You gave me chocolate ice cream instead of vanilla? I'm suing this company. It's like that story of Susan, at Starbucks. What? You're out of food? What am I supposed to do now? I don't know, go to Safeway? Do something, Get something different? Then there's this idea of emotional baggage. It carries the idea that there are some things that have happened to us that we carry into current relationships. It's not something so much as invisible, but something that we actively work with all the time. If you've ever seen anybody with baggage, they're always dragging it around. If you ever go to the airport, you always see them dragging their baggage. You see when we used to have the cruise ships in San Francisco, you go to Pier 39, people are walking around with their bags everywhere because they just got off the cruise ship. And you see people walking around and doing all kinds of things like that. They're always carrying their baggage. So this emotional sunburn, this sunburn issue is more like something you don't realize is there all the time. But this baggage is something purposeful. You're carrying this around because something's happened, something's come into your life, and we carry baggage into relationships, and we try to make relationships work, but we're also carrying so much into it that it hinders it. Have you ever seen someone try to walk through a turnstile carrying all their big bags? Right? We use the idea of going into heaven and carrying big bags of sin and all of our baggage. But have you ever seen someone try to get on BART with all their suitcases? It's hard. But that is what's happening with some people in relationships. They have baggage. They have duffel bags on top of bags, and they're trying to carry all this in and still make this relationship work. People do that in marriages all the time. They come from totally different spectrums at times. People with different relationships and background abilities, and their current relationships and friendships and marriage relationships are burdened because in the back of their mind, they're constantly thinking, what do they know about me? I wonder what they really think about me. I know what they're saying, but what do they really think about me? That's called carrying baggage. So where does all this come from? Some of it comes from our family. Our family makes the most life deposits into us. We come from various backgrounds and families and things that are unrepeated, from years and years prior. I have recently been going through lots of memories, and I'm digging through some things. I go, now I remember. Oh, that's right. And all this baggage, and family makes a lot of deposits into us. There's these thoughts of worldviews that, early on in life, most of my worldviews came not from me reading the news or me trying to figure things out. It came because my parents told me something. And our family put something into me. Is often how we got this idea of how a relationship is supposed to go, or how, words are supposed to be said. A good example is, someone gets married, a guy gets married to a wife, and he goes up to her, he goes, you don't fold my socks the way my mom does. A pastor told me, a good friend of mine, and he goes, yeah, we got married, and I'm OCD over the top, and she's not, and so we've come to a common understanding. Since it's not, we're not going to get it perfect, she just throws my laundry onto the bed, and I put it away the way I want to. That was the solution. If I can't fold your laundry the way you want, do it yourself. Babe, I love the way you fold my clothes. And we carry things into a relationship. Another thing that we learn along the way is money. Money is the best. Let's be honest. A lot of times the way we handle money is the way we were taught to handle money. The way it always was. It was just natural. When I first got saved, I was not really close to my family at all. The church became my family. And what I learned from that is we pay bills when we get the second shutoff notice when they really mean it, No bill got paid in my house until there was a red line across the top or the water or the electricity went off. Because that is the way I was taught, because my family, that is the way they paid bills. There was no savings account. There was if a crisis came up, you know what a crisis is? We need an extra $5 of gas to go to work this week. That was a crisis. Where are we going to get this money from? Oh my gosh, we're just going to have to believe God. And, and so that was the way my life was taught early on. And I realized that later on in life that, if I lived my life that way, I'd never be able to buy a house, never be able to buy a car, never be able to, put gas in my car past this week, stuff like that. But that was something that I carried from family. Another thing that we learn is how to deal with conflict. Some people think you avoid conflict at all costs. Don't let people get mad at you. Don't do it. Another is grief. That sadness is a sign of weakness. A girl or a guy cries, "Don't you dare cry. You're going to look weak in front of everybody else." Well, some things hurt. Some things hurt. Okay. Another is how to deal with anger. Have you ever met somebody? How they deal with situations is they yell at everybody. They scream. Veins are popping out, smoke's coming out of the ear, horns come up, their face turns red and purple, and no one else can talk because we're going to deal with this. I'm going to blow up on you to make a point. And that's how some people deal with anger. Another issue that comes up, family first. You owe your family everything, throw everyone else away. Don't, church, forget God, don't do this. We're having a family event, you better skip church. Relationships, don't show any vulnerability. Okay? Prejudices, only be like people close to you. Other races are not good. Okay? And this all comes out of how people are raised and how a lot of things are imparted into people early on. And emotions, some people will say, your emotions are not important. Oh, Mom, Dad, I think you don't have a right to think here in this house. But that carries over into the next relationship. Do you know that how you treat your spouse is oftentimes how you saw your family treat one another? You're like, where did this come from? Why do I act this way? I began to watch my pastor, Pastor Gooding, treat his wife. I go, I want to treat my wife that way. I just began to take notes because I have dysfunction, in my opinion. Divorces, splits, this, that happening, and everything else. I go, I don't want that in my marriage. So something has to change. It can't be what I've seen. It has to be something else. But if we're not careful, we carry all these things that we have learned through life. They call it nurturing, where we were raised in, or how we were raised in. They say it's nurturing. How you're raised, that's how you deal with relationships coming on. Another has to do with inherited curses. This is the nature portion of it. If in psychology and sociology, it's the big debate: is it nurture or nature? Is it how you were raised, or is it your genetics? And there's a debate that is valid on both sides of it, in all honesty. So let's get Exodus 20, verse 5 and 6. I didn't forget we had Bible study. It wasn't just a monologue. Exodus 20, verses 5 and 6. Go ahead, Tone.
You shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I am the Lord your God and the jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands to those who love me and keep my commandments.
Down to the third and fourth generation. And so what that speaks about is that there's something passed down, this inheritance moving downstream. That what you see at the Russian River is not necessarily what's happened here in Santa Rosa, but what's happened far higher up where the headwaters are at, or where it originates at, that it's carried downstream. And it's just like that in a family. There are some things that you have learned in relationships, but there are other things that we have been passed to in our traits and how we act. And you think, I don't know about that. Let me give you an example. There are people, there are family members that are very, very distant from each other, even split apart at birth. And the kid goes this way, the parent goes that way. And yet, what happens is they come back together again, that, they find out that they react, not just look similar, react similar to the same stimuli. So you can, like I said, there's a case for both sides here. And we see throughout the Bible this thought of inheriting traits throughout the generations. 2 Samuel 12:10. 2 Samuel 12:10, yes. 2 Corinthians.
Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have despised me, and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife.
We see this play out in David's life. We see how this can get passed down through generations. If you begin to pull out, and we'll do it in a minute here, how it pull out his family and his kids and what happens, not just to the first child with Bathsheba, but with the other kids down the line, how it begins to play out. It's a very, very interesting story, how this all begins to portray, because what happens in one generation can often get passed down. It can repeat itself without an external influence, will often repeat itself in the next generation. And that's a scary thought, and they see it in studies all the time. How, it's if the parent is an alcoholic, most likely the kid is the alcoholic too. If there's a divorce in this family, more often that begins to trend downward, and there's more divorces along the way. If the husband beats the wife beats the husband, often that repeats itself throughout the history of relationships for a period of time. And you see that happen over and over, the mistrust of authority, pregnancy out of wedlock, debt. And you begin to look at this and you see similar traits in family members. And it's because deposits have been laid for the next generation. There are people who say, I'll never be like my parents. I never want to be like them. And they turn around years later and go, I've become just like them. I was trying to be opposite, and look what I did. I became them. Okay? Family cursings are often caught more than taught. For we see in Abraham, what's one of Abraham's traits that got passed down through the generation? What's one of Abraham's traits? There's a good one. There's trust and faith. Okay, Isaac on the mountain. What else? What did he do with Sarah when he went into the land? He lied. Right? He lied. Okay? So let's look at Abraham's kids. Does it seem similar that Isaac did the same with Rebekah? Lied about her. Does it seem similar that their son, Isaac and Rebekah's son, Jacob, lied to everybody? And that Jacob's kids, 10 out of 12, lied about Joseph. And you can see how this is passed down through the family. You can see how the decisions can often be learned that cut family members off from one another. Isaac and Ishmael, they were separated and cut off. We understand that because of a bad decision. I think it was my sons and I, we were talking about this story going, man, isn't it weird, okay? So you have Abraham and you got Sarah and it's like things aren't working out. There's no promised child here. Here's Hagar. It wasn't solely Sarah's decision. Abraham was involved in all that. And Hagar. And this series of bad decisions, this accident waiting to happen, right? And we see this family, and even today, they're battling one another. And you can see how that gets passed down. Jacob and Esau split apart, bad decisions cut in between that family. Joseph cut off from his entire family. You begin to look at King David's life. What an interesting thought as they're looking for a new king. And dads brought all the sons before the prophet and he goes, there's still one more. He's at home. And Dad never thought to bring David. Did you notice that? It can't be David. Yeah. There are times in families that there's a dysfunction with people in the family. This one isn't as valuable as this one. And there's this dysfunction that plays out. And that dysfunction that begins to play out, it plays out past David's life and through other areas of his life. You see later he has dysfunction in his own home. He leads a life of immorality and then lies about it, and he tries to cover it up and kills somebody in the cover-up. And then he has a twisted son that acted out in a rape that David didn't judge, that his son Absalom finally takes vengeance on the situation from one dysfunctional generation to the next. So you see how things are learned, or some things are just passed down. And we see this thing of nurture and nature of pain and baggage. Life can leave us scarred. I told you this morning we're going to touch what hurts because it's got to get healed to fix the relationship. There are emotionally immature people that hurt us. Sometimes we have emotionally immature parents. right? We have emotionally immature spouses, family, close friends. They focus on themselves and hurt us in some way. They do something along the way, and it leaves a cut. Anybody have a scar from the past? Has anyone ever hurt yourself? Anyone not hurt yourself ever? Right? You cut yourself. I got mad at my brother one time. Growing up, my brother and I, we were very bad. I got mad at my brother. My mom's at work. My dad and my mom were divorced at the time, so we were at home alone. Bad decision. Like 6th grade, right? I'm at home alone with my brother who's in 7th grade. I get mad at my brother, and he locks me out of the house, just like what kids would do. It's about like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We just woke up, you know? And I get mad at my brother, and I smash my hand through a window because I'm mad. That's what people do when they get mad, right? Because that's all I ever learned. We just beat things up and get mad, right? I still have the scars on my wrist today from where the glass cut my wrist. You know, we have scars from the past. And the problem is we have had emotional scars along the way. Like I said, we're not doing psychoanalysis. We're not going to do, the cat peed on my bed when I was a kid, so that's why I'm weird. We're not doing that, okay? We're not doing that. But in reality, we have had influences or deposits in our life that have affected us. And we stand back and go, why am I acting that way? Why did I do that to my kids? And you begin to think back, wait, I remember when that so-and-so did that to me. Because there are scars and baggage that we carry. There are violations that have happened along the way. Words repeatedly spoken to us that cut us. You're no good. You can't do this, right? Here, give it to me. No, you're not good enough to do this. Here, can't do that. Oh, so-and-so is better at it than you. I'll tell you what, it might not sound like much, but over and over in a kid or an adult or anyone's life, pretty soon you're going to begin to think about yourself, I can never do good enough. Okay? Physical violations, there have been real wounds along the way. I'm trying not to dredge up too much of my life, but I remember as a kid in kindergarten that there was a big fight between my parents, and the cops came and picked us up and took us to a new house. And, we don't have scars, but they have scars, and now the anger and all these things, 30, 40, 45 years down the road, something like that, 40 years it's been. And there are physical violations that have happened to people that are not right, but they have left a scar. And we preach about bitterness and forgiveness because people carry burns and baggage all the time. There have been violations in the sexual context, and they have destroyed our confidence or trust in relationships that, a trusted one, a loved one. And because of that, you can't have good relationships. And not you can't, it's just that it's affecting your relationships is what I'm trying to say. And it's because of what's happened back here, men and women alike. And we can't have a good relationship. We can't trust somebody. We can't trust them to help us, or we can't trust them to be alone. We can't do this. We can't do that. We just can't go there. 2 Samuel 6:20.
Then David returned to bless his household. Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David and said, How glorious was the king of Israel today, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of the vain fellows shamelessly uncovered himself.
Here's David's wife, okay? Here's David's wife. And she sees him acting out. She turns this all around, and she looks from her past. David hasn't done something wrong. Okay, that's just it. David didn't do something wrong here in this situation, but she portrays it like he did. It wasn't because of what David did, and she hadn't actually done anything here. It had to be something that came from her past. your relationships are impacted by what you've been through. And the issue is that sometimes we're going to have to touch those things to see them get healed, okay? There's lots of things that happen in society. There's the ideas of competition and worth. Success means that you're valuable. If you have money, that means you're powerful and you're happy. But if you have achievement, that means you must have love around you. Competition means you need to be cutthroat and you need to go for it and cut everyone else off of the knees so you can succeed. Pull everyone else down to succeed for yourself. And that's what society teaches us. So I knew we wouldn't get too far into this, but and I don't want to leave you hanging. But I want to tell you, there are ways that we try to cope with these painful scars. We usually try to bury them. People self-medicate all the time. That's why they go to the bar. Have you ever noticed how the most famous counselor is the bartender? Right? Okay. Boy, did I tell you this story? I loved it when Pastor Martinez was talking about the friends who pulled up in the car. Save me a seat. I'll be right there. Like, yeah, that's how I used to act when I was drunk out of my mind. People try to hide it through alcohol or drugs, you know. We're going to get through it today. People hide it, their relationship difficulty with their spouse by going and involving themselves in immorality. They hurt me, I will hurt them. Or I will get love from somebody else. It's the issue of young ladies and the love of their dad, that they have to have that. They reach out in sexual immorality. They reach out that way. Young men are doing that as well, that they're going to find someone that loves them. It's why people join gangs, to find relationships that stay close, okay? Why would someone ever become an alcoholic? Don't go try it if you've never tried it. Has anyone ever tried alcohol here? Okay, 3. All right. It tastes nasty, right? Why did we do that? Not because of the flavor, right? Pastor Martinez. Remember when how he smoked dope for the first time? It came out his eyes and everything else. Nastiness. Why would I ever do this? Because we're trying to drown something. We just add hurt to the present. Any thoughts here? Did you? I saw a hand here. And we're trying to hide it all the time. Judges 16:1. Now Samson went to Gaza and saw a harlot there, went into her. Here is a man who sought the wife through his enemy. Why would he do that? He turns, he gets married to her. She was given to his best man, then murder, then he turns to Delilah after all that. Others try to bury it in life, work accomplishments, their career, school, social media. I like it. I don't know why it's on the front page. I have no idea why she is on the front page again. Britney Spears and her conservatorship thing, Bobber. And she got engaged to her boyfriend. Thank God they need to get married, right? The marriage is a good thing. She goes, I'm going to take a break from Instagram. I want to have a real life, she says. That just spoke some words, just that little thought right there. I'm going to have to take a break so I can have a real life. I began to think about how many scenes are portrayed as glamorous and wonderful that are just absolutely fake on social media. Okay? People bury it. Okay? They get so busy thinking if I stay active, then I'll forget, but still not dealt with. King David, after sinning, tried to stay busy, but his sin, his pain and past still weren't healed. Psalms 32:3, when I kept silent, my bones grow old through my groaning all the day long. That's how he feels inside, even though I'm growing older. I'm spending time. This is still functioning in my life. Listen, time doesn't heal all wounds. What a lie. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That is a lie. And people who say, oh, this will bring you closure. This will heal you. There's a man. He was driving drunk, and he killed 2 family members, somebody else, a wife and a daughter. And the family members giving their impact statements, what should happen to this drunk driver. He was just drunk. Just, you see people arrested for it all the time, just a drunk driver. But this one killed 2 people and took out these 2 lives, the wife or the mother and the daughter. And the judge is getting ready to pass sentence, and he begins to bawl. He goes, you don't know how many cases I deal with just DUI. And this is what it comes down to. And he says these words. He goes, the family members, I grieve for you because you think that I'm going to pass a sentence, even the strictest sentence I can give, and you think that that will bring you closure, but it doesn't. It doesn't bring you closure. He's all, you have to deal with this another way. You see, we always try to find things to find closure. We medicate, we stay busy. Other people, it becomes their identity. They rehearse their past over and over again. But the real issue is, do we want to be healed or not? Because time doesn't heal it all. Jesus is dealing with the man at the pool of Bethesda, John 5, 6, and 7. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been in that condition a long time, he said to him, do you want to be made well? And the sick man answered him, Sir, I have no man to put me in the pool of water when it's stirred up. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me. That question he asked, he goes, do you want to be made well? You can almost translate, do you want to get healed or not? Are you done with this? Haven't you figured it out yet? You would think that this man might have moved closer to the pool over the years. But he says, the angel stirs up the water and I just can't make it there. Someone gets there before I do. If I really wanted to be healed, I wouldn't be sitting up on the bank. I would have gotten a lot closer to the water's edge. I wouldn't have to try to find someone to pick me up, to carry me down there. I would be waiting at the water's edge to get healed. And this is what Jesus is asking him. He goes, do you want to be healed or not? Do you want to get healed? Are you done with this yet? Because if we're not careful, our hurts can become our identity. I'm just a lame man. I'm just broken. I'm just hurt. So, we'll have service in a few minutes. It's hard to leave it right here, but I have to. But I do want to say that this week, maybe you can spend a few moments. Why do I act the way I do? Or am I treating someone improperly because of how I act? And more often than not, you'll find the answer is yes. And you'll find if you'll lay down self-righteousness and you'll be honest, you'll find that maybe I don't treat people the way they should, and maybe I need to change. And the way I'm treating them is not their fault. It's not kind for kind. I am treating them inappropriately in some manner because of how I was raised. Or because of, not even how I was raised, it's not all your parents' fault. It's because of what I have picked up along the way in society, through friends or whatever. Because some there are good friends and there are bad friends. And I think the worst friend is social media in videos who give an unrealistic view of life. And so, if you do that this week, we can bring some healing next week and not just touch what hurts, but maybe we can put some salve on it and put a cast on it and see some healing come to pass. Amen? Any thoughts, any questions? I know it's going to be really difficult right here, but no volunteers. All right. Yes, John.
You were talking about David earlier, and it's interesting because he got involved in sexual immorality.
Mm-hmm.
Killed another man, took his wife, did all this different stuff, and you talked about his son. And the son got into similar type of thing. It may have been different, but it was still sexual immorality. And he inside the family. That's probably the worst thing you can do. But it is kind of interesting. And then David didn't have the strength to deal with that situation after that because he probably still had that pain, everything that he had done, and knew that he was on no grounds to deal with it. it is interesting sometimes we get into I did some things in my past, and then as I found out more about my family, I was like, a lot of this stuff that I got involved in, my dad did or my grandfather did.
Nurture versus nature. I want to tell you, there's a case for both sides. Some of it's how we are raised, some of it's who we are, right, internally. And there's just too much evidence to say that there isn't a case for that. And I'm not saying that's your excuse. I'm just saying we just need to identify where it comes from. We want to bring some healing to that. And because if we're going to have relationships, you said it, okay? He can't deal with his son because this is what he was, okay? Because of what he's been through, I can't deal with this. But because he doesn't deal with it, Absalom steps in and goes berserk, And then Absalom turns farther down the stream and not only judges it for dad, but begins to hate dad. And then tries to take over the kingdom and sends someone to kill dad. I think that's dysfunctional. That's really gotten out of bounds, right? But you see how it snowballs. So we don't want things to snowball to our kids, right? We don't want our relationship to be like we don't want a broken relationship like our parents were broken or so-and-so is broken. Or, when people get married and they always quote to me the statistic, 50% of new marriages end in divorce. I'm like, well, let's break the pattern. Jesus is real. God can help you. I'll never forget when, by this time, my parents were divorced, my kids' age. My parents were already divorced, and I was talking to them the other day. I go, thank God, God's helped us because Mom and I both came from broken family relationships, and thank God that's not what we're repeating. We hope that you can continue this in your marriages. Let's break the curses. Let's move forward. But take a moment this week and take a look at your relationships. Am I hurting people? And it's out of turn is really what it is. Have you ever had someone cut in line? Like, what are you doing? Right? What gives you the right to do what you just did? We are at a buffet. Get behind me, Satan. Right? Right? Preach it. Come on, Pastor. Yeah. And what gives you, and that feeling, what gives you the right to do this? Can I say something? That there are times that we act out of turn. What gives us the right? What? And you feel that, like, if you'll be honest, you can feel it. What am I doing? What am I doing? If you'll take a moment this week and think about that, we'll try to tie all that together next week and bring some healing. Amen. Sorry to leave you halfway through the Sunday school, but God bless you. Amen. We'll see you in a few minutes.